Dr. Dominic Ayine. Doc, you are welcome to Eyewitness News. Your colleague lawyer there, even though he would be your junior, he's gone to the Supreme Court, and I don't know if you heard the summation of what he's asking the Supreme Court to do there, going under 68. He's essentially saying that once you become president and you retire, I mean, after the first term, or yes, after the first term, you are in the employ of the state. You cannot do anything without clearance from Parliament. And to the extent that the former president is now an employee of the state, he's a ward of Parliament. That's how he describes him. He needs permission from Parliament. He wants Supreme Court to say that that must be the case. And for that matter, among a number of other things, he should not be qualified to run again as president. What's your view on reading the law?
Well, thank you very much, Umaru. As I intimated to you earlier when we spoke, I am in my constituency and I did not have the benefit of reading the entire writ issued by my learned friend. However, I have taken a look at the writ itself directly, the declaratory relief that he's seeking. And Umaru, I mean, with all due respect to him, I believe that what he is trying to do is inviting the Supreme Court basically to clear the confusion that he himself has planted in his own mind. There is no issue of interpretation here. So, and the Supreme Court's jurisdiction, original jurisdiction, is for the enforcement of the Constitution, especially in situations where there are, rival, plausible, reasonable interpretations being given to a provision of, the Constitution as they apply to the actions or inactions of office holders or persons that violate the Constitution. And so I have read through the writ, and to be honest with you, apart from the fact that it is poorly drafted, something that I would have, advised him not to, even publish or try to file in the Supreme Court. There is a non-issue, all right? First of all, if you read the language of the Constitution, it is very, very clear that, all right, a person is entitled to 2 terms when elected as president of the Republic. So basically, and now he is saying that the fact that the Constitution itself says that you cannot go more than 2 terms means that a person who has done 1 term cannot seek to be elected into office again. If the makers of the drafters of the Constitution had wanted to limit such persons from seeking re-election, okay, then they would have said that you are entitled. A person is entitled to not more than 2 consecutive terms. So basically, what the plaintiff is seeking to do is to invite the Supreme Court to read the word consecutive into the language of the Constitution. Okay, and I think that it is not something that the Supreme Court, would be very willing to do, even though I cannot, say with exactitude that is what they are, that is going to be their state of mind when this writ, is being decided. And so I am at a loss as to what he's actually seeking to do. Secondly, the whole idea that a former president is a ward of Parliament. This, to be honest with you, I've been a lawyer for 28 years now. I have taught law students, for many years. This is the first time I'm hearing the expression ward of Parliament, just because you require parliamentary approval. First of all, the whole idea that you require parliamentary approval for everything that you want to do is not true. All right? It is only if you want to hold an office of profit that you seek parliamentary approval. All right? So, for instance, let's take it, for the sake of argument, that the former president, being a communications expert, decides to set up a communications consultancy. Okay? And then, earn money out of it. That is the situation where he will have to appear before Parliament, okay, the Committee on Members Holding Office of Profit. And then Mr. Speaker, will grant him a certificate that will entitle him, okay, to serve as a communications consultant and earn profit from it. The office of flag bearer, where you are seeking election, I don't know by what stretch of imagination or interpretation, anybody can say that that is an office of profit, and therefore the former president needs to go to Parliament for parliamentary approval. To be honest with you, this rate is there on arrival. If I were in a position to offer that opinion, I'm not the Supreme Court, and I don't want to pretend to be the Supreme Court. But honestly speaking, it's a very shameful, act that my learned friend is engaging in. It doesn't raise any genuine issue of interpretation, and then also he's confusing so many things, with respect to actions that can be taken by the former president. The fact that the former president can seek to stand for, election and be elected, president of the republic. Okay, I believe that what he's seeking to do is to just clear the cobwebs in his own mind, and not to seek interpretation from the Supreme Court of the republic.
I see, but he's concerned. For instance, the former president serves one term, which he already has done. For him, even though the Constitution, even though we do know that a person is entitled to 2 terms of up to 8 years, you are actually entitled to just 1 term of 4 years. He's concerned about the consecutive nature of the thing. So he believes there's a break in chain, and for him, that break ends it, essentially.
Well, if the drafters of the Constitution had intended that that break should end it, they would have said so explicitly. Not having said so, it means that they leave the room open for a person who has been president, and served just 1 term, to stand for re-election, to be re-elected into office. All right. The Americans started it, and there were no term limits. It was just a matter of convention until President Washington decided that he wanted to do just 2 terms and to leave, and subsequently Congress amended the Constitution of the United States, and then inserted a term limit. So now in the U.S., okay, you are entitled to those 2 terms, but in a situation where, for instance, a vice president serves out 2 years of the term of a president who has died in office, okay, that vice president cannot do 8 years, even if he were popular, and then could be elected for to stand to be in office for 8 years. The U.S. Constitution says that you cannot in those circumstances stand for re-election.
All right. The last thing I think I just want to put to you, and I'm hoping that that's what Ken intended to put across, is that currently the former president is being paid emolument. He's going to get a new job. Granted, that's if he wins to be president, he's going to start receiving salary. What happens to the emolument he's currently enjoying as a former president? He becomes a former current president. I'm sure that's what.
Well, that's an administrative arrangement. So let's say, for instance, okay, I'm currently a member of parliament. Okay, if I lose, the election, God forbid, all right, I am not entitled to, any emoluments whilst I'm out of parliament. But once I get re-elected to come back to parliament, all right, my rights and privileges kick in, and I will be entitled to, the emoluments of a member of parliament. In the case of a former president, all right, the current emoluments will cease to, apply immediately he takes the oath of office and becomes president of the republic. The provisions relating to the emoluments and benefits accruing to a former president will no longer apply, and therefore, by administrative arrangement, whoever is enjoined to pay him those emoluments will cease to pay him those. So I don't think that it is a problem that needs any interpretation. This is a question of administrative arrangement under the Presidential Transition Act and nothing more.
Very well. Thank you for speaking to us, Doc.